Hey, Aoife, how are you?
Hey Shane, I'm good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on. And I'm excited to have you on because it's definitely a topic that is out there at the minute. I don't think a lot of people, through no fault of their own, kind of understand it fully. So, for before we kind of go into today's topic, what is your background? What's your history? Because I know it's you've got your own history in there as well.
Yeah, so I suppose my background in terms of like my profession is I have a master's in nutrition, but I suppose what I really focus on is body image and eating behavior. So yeah, I help women mainly who feel consumed by food and their body and to help them understand the patterns behind their eating so they can feel calm and at ease around food and it can be enjoyable again without the obsession or spiraling. And I suppose it really much comes from my own personal background, my own experience struggling with food for a long, long time. I even find it funny sometimes saying that I had an eating disorder because I never really connected with the word eating disorder. I know a lot of my clients don't either because there is this perception that if you have an eating disorder that it's the stereotypical like very underweight or was seeking treatment and stuff like that. And I suppose that was never the case for me and it isn't for a lot of people. So yeah, it all started, I suppose, from my own relationship and history with food. And that really, I suppose, where you could see where that started, I suppose, where it was obvious was around 18 or 19. I think I was like in the first year of college where I first started, I suppose, dieting, calorie counting, cutting out food groups, going to Weight Watchers. I suppose that's how it all started for me, I suppose, on the surface. Um, and over exercising, that kind of thing. So that all started around that age. But I always think it's important, especially when we're talking about like body image or distress around food or eating or anything like that, looking almost kind of beneath the surface what happened before that. And I think it's just important because I suppose it's not usually just about the food, there's something else going on. The food can often just be the tip of the iceberg and what you see at the surface. And for me, I suppose it's looking back and like I, from a young age, had very low self-esteem, put a lot of pressure on myself, getting older, that kind of perfectionism tendencies. And I think even like I always felt a lot of discomfort in my body. Obviously, I didn't understand that then as a young person, but like I do now looking back that I felt that discomfort from a very young age in my body. And I think I think my earliest memory is around 7 or 8, where there was a focus on my body. And I can remember I was going on a camping, not a camping trip, like a camping out the gardens, the back garden of one of my friend's house, when we were younger. And I remember like there was a hyper focus on the size of my pajamas. For me internally, I wanted my friends to know that I was in like size age younger than what age I was. And it blows my mind thinking back that that was like 7 or 8. And like I have a 6-year-old now, and to even think that from such a young age that you're thinking about that, like it's really, really sad. And like reflecting back, as I often talk to some of the girls about this because we would have grown up, our kind of bond nearly was talking about how much we like thought our bodies were horrible, how much we hated our bodies. And I suppose that was probably due to what we were exposed to from adults around us as well, you know, that talking about how awful your body was, how you'd like to change your body, how life would be better if you were in a smaller body. And that was definitely from a young age. Um, and like that wasn't a topic of conversation in my household, which is interesting either. Like I know with a lot of people and a lot of clients I have, there would have been a focus that your body is a problem from a young age, from their caregivers, from their parents. That might have been directly said by grandparents, things like that, or there might have been subtle comments kind of talking about being exposed to adult conversations, I suppose, like that. Oh, Mary down the road lost loads of weight, isn't she great? Oh, she have to put it all on now. God love her, isn't it terrible? She looks awful. So, like, you learn from a young age that being smaller is better and that that should be the case. Or even like if you grew up in a household where your mom or dad or aunts or uncles, whatever, if they were on a diet or like I suppose looking at their bodies and pulling them apart in the mirror, they're not talking about your body, but you soon learn as a child that what's okay and what's not okay, what's acceptable, what's not. But that wasn't massive in my house either, which I do even find interesting. Again, there wasn't a massive focus on weight or body or anything like that. Um, but my mum, like when I obviously talk a lot about this now, my mother's like, it's so interesting because she connects with it but didn't realize it either. Like, so my mum would have always been smaller and she would have always talked about how she'd love to have had more weight and she'd love to be bigger. So she felt a discomfort in her body from quite a young age. But it was nearly the other way. She wanted, and it doesn't matter, I suppose, if you're in a smaller body, a bigger body, it's how you feel about your body, I suppose, and that kind of perception you have of it and that your body is a problem. That is just really important, I suppose. But yeah, it does make me sad to think back from a young age that was like a topic of conversation. Like that's often what women talk about and bond about now, but thinking that we were that young having those conversations. So it's mad really. And I suppose then going through puberty and stuff, like I would have developed earlier, just saying, would have been like one of the bigger ones in my friendship group. And I can remember being at like cool camps and like camogie training and just feeling that real sense of discomfort in my body. And I hated, like if the ball came over, I hated it. I remember this like sensation in my body. I hated anyone looking or the pressure. What do I do with this? So like I was never like there was no issues with food, if you want to say then. It was that real discomfort in myself, and that low self-esteem, that pressure, that perfectionism. So I think it's just important to kind of mention those first before we see just at 18 or 19 that I started dieting and then the eating disorder started, do you know?
Yeah, and I love that sentence because I've said it so many times to people is like it's not about the food, there's something else kind of in
Mm.
there deep down, pushed down, and it's kind of just volcano erupting at the minute. And it's kind of coming to the fore that we're kind of trying to understand something, process something, kind of control something, which is control is the big one that we as humans love to control things until it kind of becomes a slippery bar of soap and then it just kind of slips out of our hands a little bit. And if we're trying to kind of control the narrative around us of how we look and be accepted and be validated, whether that's for a lad that could be putting on muscle and trying to fit in with your mates, for a girl who could be trying to be smaller. Because even if you look at like Bridget Jones's diary of like she's perceived as being overweight, but when actually you look at what the weighing scales have said, it's about 9 stone 9. I think it
Mm.
is. That kind of like that narrative of that 9 stone 9 is overweight is pushed on people from an early age.
Yeah.
You spoke about kind of body image, and I think it's important to kind of understand what body image is because it's one of these terms that can be thrown around a fair bit, but I'm not sure if a lot of us know how to understand it or what it actually means. So, what is body image, and what is, in your mind, positive body image?
Yeah, so I think important, like when you mentioned control there, that like control doesn't come from vanity. Often we think people that this is a vanity thing. It comes from, and this was definitely the case for me, controlling how I looked, controlling my body, trying to shrink myself. That came from a place of, yeah, like wanting to feel safe, wanting to feel accepted, wanting to feel good enough. I often refer to this as like not good enough syndrome. If you don't feel good enough, that that will often lead to these things happening. And I suppose if you are here, like I said, that like bodies, you need to be smaller to be good, you will do that, then you will learn how to do those things because it's our human need. We want to feel accepted. We want to feel like we're part of something. So I think that was definitely the case for me. It wasn't actually really about my body. It was what that the body what I associated with that if I'm in a smaller body, I'll be more popular. I will be more liked. I will get more attention from boys. I will feel good enough. Everything in my life will be better. That's what I was, I suppose, convinced. Um, and like to like define body image, it's really like it's how you think and feel about your body ultimately, and how you treat your body then, because how we think and feel about our body actually leads to how we treat and what we do with our bodies. So it's often we think like that when we just change our body and we lose weight that, oh, I've sorted my body image now. But it's actually really an inside job how you think and feel about your body. And it's about changing that narrative and changing that experience. And when we talk about a positive body image, like I call bullshit in this a lot. We see a lot of it on Instagram and social media that like we're jumping around flaunting our bodies, we're in a bikini and oh my body image is so great and I'm so confident. To me, yeah, I find that a lot of like bullshit with it really, because it's like when you improve your body image, when you have a positive body image, it means that your body isn't really that important anymore. And I don't mean that you neglect or don't care for your body.
Yeah.
When you have a negative body image, you're hyper focused on it, really, really hyper focused on your body. Any changes, you're constantly checking, you're monitoring, you're thinking about your body all the time. So it's really like all consuming. It's all you can think about. And that's obviously the more of the higher extreme, do you know what I mean? But when you have a positive body image, it means that you're kind of zoning out from your body. So instead of it being the center of your focus, the center of your life, your world doesn't revolve around your body anymore because you're zoning out on your body, but you're zoning in on life. You're looking at other things, do you know what I mean? That you can enjoy, things that you can do. You're grateful for what your body can do for you, but you're not really consumed about your body anymore. So it's just not as important. But at the same time, you can have deep respect and gratitude for your body. You're so grateful for the things your body does for you and that it lets you get through life. It lets you do all these wonderful things. And for me personally, and when I see clients like improving their body image, they start going back to maybe like hobbies or things that they did when they were younger that they haven't done in such a long time. Because if you think of it, when you're consumed by your body or thoughts about food, it's all you can think about. So when you start freeing up some of that headspace, it's like, whoa, like what can I do with this? Because there's so much space that you didn't have before. And that's like amazing that you can start, I suppose, investing that time and energy into different things that are actually important. Um, but I think there's a misconception that when you start working on that, then that you just don't care about your body anymore, that you'll sit around all the time eating pizza, not doing anything. And like it might swing to that extreme, and we'll talk about that swinging in a while, but like it that might happen for a period of time, but really when you have a positive body image, your health is important. Looking after yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, that's all important. But it's not like it doesn't take away from other areas of your life. It's just part of your life. So yeah, you'll still eat nourishing foods, you'll still move your body because our bodies want nourishing foods. Our body wants to move. Our body wants all these things. It wants rest, it wants respect, it wants all these things, it wants sleep. It wants to be present, it wants joy, it wants peace, it wants happiness. But yeah, so that's kind of what I find frustrating when you see this. Oh, I'm so confident in my body now and I'm jumping around. Like it can still be a real hyper focus on your body. And it really is an inside job.
I think it's an important piece that you said there that it's not that it kind of just you become overnight this positive body image kind of guru and icon, and it's kind of more like you still have these fleeting thoughts and you still have to work on it. It's not one of these light switches that kind of goes off, and it might even go too far the other extreme for some. And it's trying to find
Yeah.
the balance, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. That kind of swing piece that you've kind of is one of the big things you talk about. So in relation to that kind of like the food and body swing that you've kind of talked about a fair bit. Can you explain what that is for people and how to kind of spot, maybe even spot themselves in there when they're kind of working through it?
Yeah, and you probably see this all the time as well in your work, like the food and body swing, where people are at one end of the swing where they're really like killing it, if you want to say. They're like, they're on track, they're disciplined, they're seen as the really healthy one and they're going hell for leather and they're doing everything right in air quotes. Really, really strict. They hold a tight ship. They're monitoring things. And like I spent a lot of time over there, particularly when that started around 18 or 19, where I was hyper focused on everything I ate, really counting calories, like really cutting calories, cutting food groups, over exercising, really like hyper vigilant of any changes of my body, constantly checking my body in the mirror, constantly weighing myself. Um, and I suppose then what happens is your body can't sustain that for too long, do you know? So it swings over to the other side of the swing where it looks like the complete opposite. It's like kind of the control versus the chaos side of things. And when you go over here, it's like things collapse, those regimes collapse because your body just can't take it anymore. And it goes to the other end of the swing, which is just it's at the opposite, it's the other extreme where you can feel like any of your structure just collapse. So you mightn't have any routine around eating. You might just be eating whatever, whenever, whatever. There mightn't be any thought put into it. You might not even go out for a walk anymore. because there can be such judgment over here and shame that you don't even want to be seen anymore. So you might isolate and just not even do any of the things that make your body feel well. And over here also, like it might look like, pulling away from intimacy with your partner, pulling away from social situations because you feel that like disgust and that shame really deeply in your body. Um, and it's basically just a rebound effect. It's just the other end of the swing. If you think of like a pendulum or a swing going over and back, it's just the other end of it. And but I suppose what the problem is that people don't realize that when you're over at this side of the swing, that this is just physiologically your body is rebounding because it can't sustain that pressure anymore. But we don't hear that. So we just hear, oh God, I'm failing, I'm doing crap. Why can't I just get my shit together? What's wrong with me? And what happens then when you're over here, and I suppose it might look like binging late at night, emotionally overeating because you're feeling such discomfort that you're using food, I suppose, as a way to kind of numb that out. You're using food, it might be as a way to try and make yourself feel better. And if you're up late at night consuming a large quantity of food, you're going to feel quite sick and feel not good in your body. It's not going to feel good. So what do? We go, okay, I'm going to go hell for leather. I just need to go back and get really strict like I did before. It worked the last time, so we swing back over, and you just keep swinging. You're just swinging over and back. Um, and where we want to get is that lovely steady middle ground where there's just ease around food, where you look after yourself, you're looking after your mind, your body, you're eating nourishing foods, you're moving, but it kind of comes naturally. There's no like agenda behind it almost. And you just eat, if you want to say normal and move on. Food doesn't consume you anymore. You're not spiraling, you're not obsessing about it. Um, so yeah, that's what I call the food and body swing. But I think what's important to mention is that like it's that kind of deeper stuff. We might recognize ourselves with that patterns with eating, but when we look even beneath that again with the body image side of things, is there's a function behind each side of it that we don't maybe realize when we're over on like the control side. Um, that can help us feel safe, like we spoke about earlier. It might give us some purpose. I know for me, I did not know who I was. I was seen as the healthy one, the nutritionist. I was always out exercising, and I loved that because behind that, I didn't know who I was. Because before that, I would have been, if you want to say, in the overweight category, like air quotes, if you wanted to follow my BMI. So when I started losing weight and doing a lot of really warped things, I got so much praise, I got so much attention. So it was just validating that, okay, I'm doing the right thing. So I didn't want to let go of that because if I didn't have that, what would I be then? And I didn't know the answer to that. And that was terrifying because I didn't know who Aoife was. I didn't know anything about myself. I genuinely didn't. Um, so I really wanted to hold on to that kind of illusion, that image, that picture of control, because that made me feel like I was good enough. Um, I know now, obviously, it was just kind of an illusion that behind it, I didn't know anything about myself. So for me, that kind of control, it gave me like purpose, it gave me focus, it gave me structure, it gave me that feeling of, okay, I am good enough now. Um, and then when you swing over to the other side, going back to the kind of collapse side, is often if we don't have the skills for like self-regulation, or if we don't know what's going on with ourselves, and if you're consuming a lot of food and not moving, there'll be a lot of guilt and shame there. And if we don't know what to do with those kind of heavy feelings, food is such a wonderful, easy way to numb it all out. Keep eating, bury it, numb it, push it down. And for me, I related to that very well, more so than sometimes the control side of things. Obviously, in control, there was a function as well, but it almost was like putting a bam on things, that like if things felt really kind of rocky and uncertain, and you're feeling really down in yourself and feeling like you're a failure and feeling all the guilt and the shame, food just kind of like soothed that out for a few moments. Obviously, it's not a good long-term strategy, but it gives you relief in that moment. So there's function behind both ends of the swing.
And I think it's do you feel that you need to go too far? Do you find that you need to go two sides of the extreme in order to find the balance, or can you find the balance without going to too far?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I suppose with for me personally, with the clients I work with, I'm always working on the extremes and finding balance because that's just the niche that I'm in, I suppose. But there'll be lots of people that might have dieted like I did and started off with Weight Watchers that never go to that extreme.
Yeah.
Do you know, there might be like, I suppose the whole eating experience is on a spectrum where it will be normal eating in air quotes, you want to savor, you just eat normally, you have a naturally good relationship with food, to the other end of the extreme where it's a clinical eating disorder, and then somewhere in the middle where it's disordered eating. And the majority of the population will identify with disordered eating. They just maybe don't realize it because it's so normalized. Um, so what I see all the time, and this isn't a blanket answer for everyone, but in my niche, what I see is that it's going from the extremes. Um, and like I would see women that are doing that for years, decades. Like I've clients in their 70s doing this body image work, which is so amazing because they're just so they're like, I don't want to die and leave my
Yeah.
legacy behind that I was just obsessing or swinging and yo-yoing over and back my whole entire life. And I just think that's so amazing that like I have clients that are in their 30s and 20s as well, but like it's just really inspiring. But I suppose they're often coming to me as a last resort because they have been swinging for so long. So I suppose I'm probably not, you know, when you kind of can't see things differently because that's all you're kind of
Yeah.
exposed
Yeah.
to. But there will be lots of people that naturally fall into that balanced middle ground, or people who might dabble in dieting or different things, and it won't affect them to the same extreme. And I think for me as well, I think my background that I spoke about earlier with that kind of, I was going to be more susceptible to that based on, I think, my self-esteem and different things, different personality traits, different things that I suppose, experienced, whereas other people mightn't.
The self-esteem thing, the self-worth piece is a lot of the bits that you kind of, I know from having struggled with it myself, is that like no matter how many times someone tells you you're great, all this kind of shit, you're not. It's a feeling. It's just one of these hard things to shake. I've kind of
Yeah.
like, it's just one of these kind of like almost like a dull cloud kind of following you. That no
Mhm.
matter what kind of is said to you, it's not going to shake you out of unless that kind of deeper rooted work is kind of done.
Yeah.
It's particularly with the body image stuff. Is it something that you can do on your own and go on that journey of discovery yourself? Or if someone was to start doing it, where would someone start?
Yeah, like I think again, depending where you fall on that kind of
Yeah.
spectrum, like there could be lots that you can do yourself. And then obviously if you're identifying with the pattern that I'm talking about, I would highly recommend professional support. But if you identify it, but you're not maybe, I think what often stops people seeking support is that they don't feel like it's bad enough because this is normalized. We see this all the time, and especially with women, we almost bond over this conversation. But what we often don't know is how that's actually impacting someone really deeper down, where they don't even want to go out for a walk, they don't want to even put on leggings or do a squat because they feel, I can feel my stomach hitting my thighs. I don't want to be intimate with my partner, so I'm pushing them away because I it's too painful to actually be present in your body. So you will try avoid anything that brings you like face to face with your body. So you're almost in that avoidance piece. And I think that keeps people stuck for a long time because they just think I just need to get back and get my shit together and then I'll be fine. And because it's very normalized, that I hear all the time people say, like, I didn't think it was bad enough that I needed support. But if food and your body is consuming you and you're waking up in the middle of the night, the first thing you're thinking about is, how can I do better tomorrow? Or you're going to bed replaying every single thing you ate. Like that is consuming you. So I would encourage anyone to say, like, that's enough to get support, whether that's free support, whether that's low cost support, whether that's one-to-one professional support. It is enough, first of all, because I think we can kind of minimize it. But like what I would recommend for people, like if they want to start dipping their toes in the water, like there's lots of things that you can do yourself. We can share the food and body swing video series with people listening. So it's basically us talking a bit more detail about that, how you can come to that calm, steady middle ground, how it formed in the first place, the swing, and how you can kind of navigate and move away from that. Um, like a really nice place to start is like when you look in the mirror or catch a glimpse of your reflection, turn up the volume. What is the inner narrative? What are you saying to yourself? What's that inner dialogue saying? Like, are you zoning straight in on your stomach, your hips, your thighs, whatever part of the body it is? What are you saying to yourself? And if you can say it out loud, hear the harsh, critical tone, like hear those things that you're saying to yourself, say them out loud, And just even for a moment, can you even put your hands in your chest? Like a lot of this will be like body-based work that I do. We'll do mind work, but cognitive work, but also body-based work. And the body-based work is so powerful and anyone can do it. So we all have our bodies, we can do it. So you can almost just go, I'm sorry. Or think of like, if you have kids, think of your small child, or think of if you have god kids, or if you have cousins, nieces, nephews, whatever. Think about yourself as a small child and think of when you say those things, say it out loud, hear the harshness in it, and just apologize to yourself. You can just say, I'm sorry. And if you can connect with touch, like hand on the chest through skin, I'm sorry. 2 seconds, no one even knows you're doing it. It can be really, really powerful. It can be getting out a pen and paper. If the body stuff feels too weird for you, and I know I definitely couldn't have gone anywhere near that at the start, I needed to intellectualize it and understand it and cognitively understand it. And I know a lot of people will be the same that we can almost over intellectualize things and we're really in our heads. We're tracking, we're monitoring, we're calculating, we're analyzing, we're logical, we're making sense of things. So it can be really helpful to get like two pieces of paper and like on a notebook. On one side, even like think of it as red and green thoughts. Write out all the red thoughts, all the harsh, critical things you're saying about yourself, not just your body, but about yourself, your character. Write them all out. And I suppose tell yourself that this actually isn't me. This is just what I have been, I suppose, conditioned to believe throughout my whole life. Write them all out. And then on the other side of the page, can you write out all the things maybe that you do like about yourself? And if you can think of anything that you like or love about yourself, things that you don't hate and focus on the body, but also focus on the broader things. Like, I like that I'm a caring friend. If you can think of anything that you like about your body, or okay, I don't hate my eyebrows. And I know this sounds kind of, it can seem silly, but it can be really powerful to have that red versus green and to know that all these red thoughts, it's not me. I don't actually have to keep buying into this, but I can start focusing on the green. I can start focusing on the things that I do like about myself. And if there's nothing there, because I know for me, I found that very, very hard. I can remember like sticking it up in my mirror and like actually crying when I couldn't think of too many things. Because like you was that self-work piece. I found it really, really hard. Um, so it does take time and practice, but that can be a really powerful place to start. And from like as well, like respecting your body and trying to move past these things can come from a place of like understanding what puts pressure on you and your body image. For some people, that might be social media. It might be, okay, what am I exposing myself to all the time? What am I seeing every day that might be impacting me? Can I give that a bit of a clear out? Am I, do I have clothes in my wardrobe that are taunting me every time I come in because they don't fit me anymore? Can I bag them up and get rid of them and just focus on clothes that actually fit me and feel comfortable now? Putting on a bit of color, something like that that'll give you a lift. Because every time you walk into that wardrobe and see them, it's a reminder you're not doing good enough. They don't fit you anymore. You're failing. And when it's very hard to treat something well if you hate it or if you're in a constant battle with it. So if that inner dialogue is constantly happening, we don't always know that that's happening because it's just running like as an automatic loop. And it does impact if that's how we're thinking, we feel very heavy, we feel crap about ourselves. And then what we'll often do is we'll either use food then to make that a bit easier. So, or we mightn't bother going for the walk because I feel so crap, I can't even be arsed going out because I feel horrendous. So how we think and feel about our body does impact how we treat our body. So we need to kind of start with the thought pattern, like start with kind of the body-based work, like saying sorry to yourself, that touch, that piece. And then we will automatically start treating ourselves better. But we often dive straight in going, I need to just sort the food side of things, and we overlook the deeper work that needs to be done, I suppose, for actual change to happen.
The the hate word is the word that kind of comes to the fore for me. You said I think a lot of people, the bits you don't hate is sometimes one of the hardest questions for them to
Mm,
answer because they've been so many more years credit in the bank of the stronger variation of the word to themselves rather than the nicey nicey. And I think
mm,
it's one of the hardest bits of that exercise to do from having done it with clients of like, what bits do you not hate or what bits do you not like or do you not like or
mm,
are okay with? Yeah, that's sometimes the hardest bit. Not even the
yeah,
bits that they like. It's like what bits do you not hate because
mm,
they've just picked at themselves nonstop, unfortunately, for years.
mm.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. can you lose weight or diet while looking at body image work, or is it chicken and egg?
Can you lose weight while doing body image work?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like the earlier question, like where you are on the spectrum. Like I don't encourage it. I suppose with my clients, I don't encourage focusing on the weight loss. I suppose all my clients will come to me with the desire to lose weight.
Yeah.
But what we kind of focus on is almost like, okay, in your attempt to lose weight in the past, how has that resulted? It's resulted in losing the weight, becoming obsessed, going to the other end of the swing, all that control falls to collapse, and then the weight goes back on plus more. And really, I suppose, helping clients see that weight cycling and how they got into that pattern. So when they come work with me, it's almost like we just put that on the shelf for a little while, that it's there. We're not trying to get rid of it, but we're just going to indirectly focus in other ways. We're going to focus on the mind, the body. We're going to focus on, and that doesn't mean, look, that we're not looking at food at all. Like I will be helping people looking at stabilizing their eating, eating regularly, making sure they're eating a broad variety of your macronutrients, getting in your micronutrients, focusing on structure. Yes, that is important. It is an important part of it because otherwise we're just over at the other end of the swing where we're eating whatever, whenever, and we're binging at night. And that isn't going to make you feel good either. So we're trying to kind of gently guide it towards that middle ground, giving it a bit of structure. But I know that there are clients, not clients that I work with, I know that there are people that can focus on that and feel better in themselves. And I've had clients that have come to me that maybe weren't at the other end of the extreme so much. And often we can work through things a lot quicker. So I think it just depends what end of the spectrum that you're at. And look, I'm sure there are people out there that can focus on body image and focus on dieting, and it can be flexible for them. I don't see too much of it, but again, it's because that's not usually the people that are coming to me.
Yeah. Fair.
Um, but I do think not everyone will experience the same extreme. So like I never really have a black and white answer. I think it's a lot more nuanced than that. And I'd love to know what's your experience with that because you probably would see more of that stuff than I would. So what is your kind of experience with it?
It comes to the two words that are behind me on this thing my client gave me is it depends.
Okay.
So one
I'm blind, I'm squinting.
one of my clients got this. This is all the sayings that I say to her on our things. Ice cream is one of them. But it depends is always my answer. It does depend on where the person's coming from. If the client has disordered eating patterns or to the other side of things of eating disorder, well then that's dieting isn't necessarily the greatest idea in the world because
Mm,
dieting will try to perceive control in relation to tracking calories to the point on weighing out everything. And then if we can't stick to it, it heightens perfection. And if it heightens perfection, then it's going to lead to loss of control if we have a meal out or whatever it might be. So it's trying to, one, see where the client is at, but also trying to maybe even work with them for like, say, 4 to 6 weeks and kind of say, right, maybe give bits of what they want. I'm kind of like getting the quick wins in relation to maybe half a pound or a pound or half a pound, 1.5 pounds, or looking at measurements and that side of things. So other metrics, it depends on what the client is doing. And then you've got the other clients who it would be not even a great idea to look at that. But the one thing that I would say about the body image stuff is because when we're looking to lose weight, we have the metrics of progress, whether it's the weight, the scales, the energy, the strength, etc. With the body image work, there's not necessarily the shiny object of the
yeah.
progress, and it can be completely mood related
Mm,
and well-being related or mental state related of
mm,
how we are actually doing, because it's going to heighten the insecurities. If we haven't slept, we're stressed, our kids are shitting themselves, our husband's being a dick, those kind of things will heighten a lot of the things for ourselves, or someone has said something to you or social media has triggered you. But the metrics of progress for body image work aren't as shiny object as
yeah.
the weight loss work, where it's kind of like, here's a piece of plastic, weigh yourself, the weight has gone down, you are the greatest human of all time. That's the
Mm,
way it's made. But with body image work, it's kind of like, it's a gentle nudge of like, we're going in the right direction, rather than this big shiny object where you've been validated to an inch of your life because
Yeah.
someone in a county hall has said you're great because you've lost weight, but you've starved yourself to go into it.
Mm.
So it depends is the answer that I would kind of give, but it's trying to spot and almost trying to meet the client where they're at,
Yeah.
I would say, because if a client is coming for weight loss, it's kind of like, right, maybe they need to get a little bit of buy-in at the beginning without the extremes, without the 1200 calories. If they're doing the 1200 calories, big red flag. If they're doing 1400 calories, big red flag. It's trying to
Mm.
say, right, can we do this by actually eating regular meals once and showing that you're actually nourishing yourself, that you get to eat, that you should be eating, rather than trying to punish yourself, and do it that way. So you're a lot more stable, you're a lot more energy, a lot more well-being, enjoying your training rather than almost eating 1200 calories, trying to survive, binging to an inch of your life, but then you're also trying to change yourself out of hate. It's trying to find it. Every client is very, very different, and sometimes it doesn't. My opinion anyway is it depends. Can they be work done together? Sometimes, but I would say probably 70% of the time, I would say maybe not.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, and I totally agree with you in the fact that it's harder to measure those things, and that can be really hard because you're in that messy middle. It's not black, it's not white, you're not doing good, you're not doing bad. It's like, how do I measure this, I suppose? And when we were talking about like the body, like having a positive body image area, that can even look like some of the wins, but they're harder to measure. You have to really look for them, and that's, I suppose, our job to help people look for them. What have you noticed benefits in? Could that be that you weren't consumed by thinking about your body all day, that you actually did something and you were present, that you enjoyed doing something that you really enjoyed and you weren't consumed about thinking about your body, or you went for a meal and you didn't look up the menu in advance to plot out exactly what you were going to eat. You ate, you slowed down, you enjoyed it. And sometimes I will celebrate with clients eating the dessert because they were never given themselves permission to eat dessert. Other times be celebrating I actually didn't have the dessert because I know I can have it, but I actually didn't want it because I checked in and I was full and I didn't want the dessert. But I came home later, a couple hours, and I had a cup of tea and I had some chocolate because I wanted it and I enjoyed it. So like you really have to try pull out the other kind of wins, the ones that can be more focused mentally. And it is hard because when you're used to seeing results in terms of scales or progress pictures, and I don't measure any of those things. And when I have clients, like I'd arrange a call with them at the start to see if we'd be a right fit, like I would say like that I won't be asking you for measurements, pictures. I don't use any of those metrics. It's different metrics. And I'd use a kind of a questionnaire around kind of your body image. There's a questionnaire you use. So like it can help to focus in on those things to see the progress that way. So you're still kind of seeing progress, because otherwise, as you said, it's mood related. You can just feel like you're doing nothing and everything is kind of spiraling. So it is important at times to have those metrics, but that, yeah, they don't always have to be the traditional metrics, I suppose, that they would be used to.
Yeah, and it is trying to bring in like one of the things I loved. I kind of call them non-scale victories of like what two, three things are you proud of in your week, and it could literally be you tied your shoelace. Like
Yeah.
most of them, I try to make them for people that like I went for an ice cream with my kid or
Mm.
something like that. That's kind of like non even fitness related. And I notice the difference of when people are filling in that box versus the ones that don't necessarily fill those in that box are the ones that are rushing through the check-in one. I've kind of like it's lastminute.com, dog ate my homework. Or it
Mm.
could be the other side of the thing is that they're in the doldrums and they're not necessarily letting the light in to kind of almost share their wins. They're being really, really hard on themselves because something else has disrupted the mood. And they
Mm.
just haven't got the toolkit in their arsenal right now to kind of actually give themselves that little bit of a pat in the back when they actually probably need it most. And that isn't irregular right now, and particularly in Ireland. Like if you think of like that ad with the farmer walking around, how are you feeling, Dad? Ah, sure, you know yourself. We're great about talking about the weather as Irish
Yeah.
people. We're not talking about great about talking our feelings. We've been suppressed to an inch of our life. And
Mhm.
like if we haven't been necessarily given that environment through no fault of our own, through our families or whatever it is, if we haven't been told or taught how to deal with our stuff or process emotions, we're not going to be able to do it ourselves. So it does take
Mm.
those kind of like check-ins with ourselves of kind of like, right, how far have I actually come here? has maybe the food noise kind of gone down a little bit? Am I exercising for my head rather than for a body change? Because
Mhm.
a lot of people struggle to be consistent with the exercise because they're trying to show themselves out of hate
Mm.
or trying to lose weight. But when you change the reframe the narrative of I get to walk for my head, I get to walk for my for me, I get to go for a walk with my kids. That changes the reframe. It's the same action, but it's two very, very different reframes. It becomes a lot
Yeah.
more powerful, and you tend to stick to it a lot more that way. And that could be one of the non-scale victories that someone has. Like I literally went for a walk with my kid, and it was the first time I've done that because I was so self-conscious of how I was feeling.
Mm.
It could be going out for a dinner with your mates because you've been kind of so recluse for a long time because maybe it's you're only coming up for air now after COVID. A lot of people struggled during COVID, and brought a lot of the shit to the fore during COVID. And I think a lot of people are still trying to process that stuff.
And
Um,
like I'd love to see and hear more like what you do. You're working with people on like their nutrition, on their exercise. That like I would love to see like more nutritionists slash PTs like doing that work because I think it would help people a lot because you probably see it all the time. It's one extreme or the other. Do you know what I mean? To kind of help them with that messy middle ground and I suppose taking the focus off and looking at even that emotional regulation piece. And like I find this really interesting. It just reminds me when you were talking there of like often people can be so burnt from following plans that like even focusing on food prep can be a battle because they associate that with when they used to be really, really strict and in control. And I know I struggled with that myself as well, that I thought then that food prep was bad. I thought that like, paying attention to what you're eating was bad. That those actions aren't bad. It just depends what your relationship is like with them and what your intention is behind it. When I used to food prep and when I used to have a rigid structure around eating, my intention was very different. It was coming from fear, wanting to shrink my body, not feeling good enough if that didn't happen. Whereas now, yeah, I food preps, it makes my life easier. Yeah, I
yeah,
focus on what I'm eating because I need it. I have two kids, I'm working a job, I'm doing my own private work. Like, I need that even physically to be able to focus. So, like, yeah, I love that it depends because it does. It depends. It's nuanced. It's not black and white. And we need to focus on the grey because that's where most of the work happens.
but it's not sexy enough because I think when people you look at the transformation pictures, and don't get me wrong, I have used them to advertise before. I'm not going to sit here on my ivory tower. I've used them as a way to advertise previously, and I've done that before. It's what gets people in because it's the shiny object of like, well, you're not seeing the full story behind them. You're
Mm.
only seeing this snapshot in time. You're not seeing what they've had to improve in the background, whether it was the relationship with food. You can't put into a picture a relationship with food unless you're kind of like, right, make someone smile on a camera. But that's not going to be shiny object enough for someone because you can't bottle that and give it to someone. So I get more of an ego kick when clients come to me and said, I'm actually able to go out and enjoy meals than I do for someone who gets the transformation, if that makes any sense. The transformation is very, very different. And that's why I love doing the client episodes of the podcast. And there's like nearly 60 clients on that at the minute. I
Mm.
love those stories, actually sharing real stories, because it helps people to understand that the struggles they're having aren't their own. And there is a way and there is another side to it rather than just being isolated. And it is a lonely thing. Body image, food, weight loss, all that kind of stuff. It's a very, very lonely journey. And it's yes, it's coming to the fore, all that kind of stuff, but you can get so overwhelmed with all the information where to start with body image, and then you'll hear a sentence about body image from one person and then you'll switch to the other person rather than giving it enough time with the method of kind of trying like, right, could you start with just a social media feed and delete 5 to 10 accounts this week? Because if you look at your social media feed right now, are you waking up first thing in the morning and seeing someone in a bikini and said I should look like that?
Yeah.
Or you look at a six pack piece and say, I should be looking like that. And then the last thing at night, you're seeing that feed again.
Yeah.
So there is an element of you can do some of the work yourself. Is it going to be it's the real like minor wins as you kind of go along? But it's those bits add up over time and you're building more credit towards where you want to go and who you want to go. And it's not that you'll never have a negative body image thought ever again. It's just
Yeah.
that it may not control you. It may not control the next action. It may not trigger you into a mad binge or a mad spiral. It's just
Yeah.
you're saying, right, all right, what do I need right now? All right, it could be just go into my bedroom, take a big deep breath in, and just take it, right, what do I need right now? And that's all that it could be rather than the reactive piece. And it could be
Yeah.
that you've done that, maybe you've binged 10 times out of 10, and then one times out of 10 you haven't binged. That's a huge win. That's a 10% increase. They're the wins that people that need to focus on, is like the minor ones. They build up over time rather than trying to be perfect every single freaking time. Perfection, the irony of perfection is it leads to nowhere very, very fast. It leads to a slippery slope very fast. That's the irony of it. I say it to my clients all the time, perfection is like my hairline. It doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you're saying. Like, it's not sexy, and it's something that I definitely find that, like, it's not sexy. The body image work, it's not sexy, and it's almost so sometimes it's not easy, but we can really simplify it, and it's like our ego or our kind of brain, we over intellectualize it. Like, no, that's just too woo woo kind of a thing. Whereas I would kind of refer to it as almost like couples counseling with your body. That's the work that I do. That, like, basically, think of it, if you're in a relationship or a marriage and it has gone so frayed, it's hit a really bad point where you're coming into the house, you're not even acknowledging one another, there's no communication, there's friction, there's tension, um, there's nothing happening there. There's just really kind of that energy that's there, and you're not even acknowledging one another. And it's like that with your body. And like when you're talking about reaching for the phone first thing, if we're not, like, think about your body as someone in your relationship. If you're waking straight up and going on the phone and ignoring them, like, yeah, it mightn't be great, but can you actually put your hand on your chest again in the morning, take one deep breath, or hand in your stomach and feel your breath, and actually just say good morning, say hello to your body? I know it sounds bonkers, but it really does work, because you can save a relationship that's hit a really bad point if you do go for counselling, but both parties need to be open and willing to take part and do the daily repair work. And sometimes we think that, oh, I'm working on my body image, it's grand, I'll just do nothing, I'll sit around and do nothing all day. It actually does, like, that self-compassion does actually involve doing something. It's not passive. It means showing up for yourself every day and taking that daily repair, taking that action, whether it's giving yourself permission to eat regularly, whether it's getting out for a walk because it helps your head, whether it's taking a deep breath in the morning before you reach for the phone, whether it's when you're looking in the mirror, you're just saying sorry, or give yourself a wink. It doesn't have to be always these big things. That is how you will repair your relationship with it. Whereas often we want to just fix it. We want to just fix it and make it better. And that makes sense. But instead, we need to kind of work with it, I suppose, and kind of show up for it every single day and take the actions, because it won't happen otherwise. It's not passive. But I suppose if all your focus and energy is going on berating yourself, tracking everything like to such a severe extent, or going the other way where you're just binging every evening, that does take energy too. So we're kind of trying to redirect that energy, that to, I suppose, repair that relationship with your body as if it was someone you were in a relationship with, because you need to have that trust there, and it's a two-way street. You don't trust your body to feel safe around food because you've evidence every night that you're in and out of the press like a track and you can't stop eating. So of course you don't trust your body. But can we start creating conditions there that help with the trust? Predictability. Can you eat regularly and eat enough nutritionally that there's that safety in your body? Because your body will always go back to what's familiar. And, like, there's neuroscience behind this. It's not actually woo-woo. If you've had a really shit day, you've had an argument with someone or a stressful day, your brain will automatically go to the path of least resistance, of what you're used to, what's familiar. You will do what you always do. And if that means control, or if that means collapse and chaos, your body and brain, you'll go there. So we want to start kind of developing a new pathway and training ourselves that there is another direction. But that can happen at the same time. As you said, you can have 10 binges or you can have 9 out of 10 binges, that you're starting to carve out that path that, okay, I didn't have a binge here. What am I doing differently? And often, especially with like emotional eating or binge eating, it can be our crutch. There's a function behind it. It's helping us in some way. And if we rip that away, there's not going to be safety. So often we need to, you won't see this overnight transformation because, in terms of like, oh, I'm not binging at all anymore. It happens when it's starting to slow down, that you're not having, instead of 10, maybe there was 9. Instead of binging every night, you skipped a night and it didn't happen. And you're trying to tune in, going, okay, what was going on? What was going on that I didn't binge that time compared to maybe what happened when I did have a binge? And it's important to have the binges when someone has like a binge episode. I will be kind of grateful because we can work through it. What was actually going on? Can you have the binge and do the work at the same time that you're trying to figure out what was happening? And that's where you'll kind of start to see the progress. Whereas if you just ripped away the food that's there as a function, that would be very unsafe for someone because they don't know any other way. Does that make sense?
No, it makes complete sense. We have it. We don't do anything for no reason. There's always a message, or there's a signaling that we have that makes us do something. If you think of, like, say, the food example with the emotional eating piece, a lot of people will say that I'm an emotional eater, like that they're themselves are an emotional eater. But I
Mm,
would kind of pause and check in and say, right, are we an emotional eater or are we someone who eats emotionally? One is
mm,
kind of like a true story, and one is kind of like a human thing. If you think of when a baby cries, what's the first thing that can happen? So their boob to the mouth or milk. So that pattern loop of when we are upset, or that emotional feedback loop, has been created for us. So it's not a moral failing. It's what we needed at that time, and it's how it was created for us. The only thing that happens is when food or drink or something else, it only becomes a problem when it's the only way we deal with our emotions, or the only way we try to process things. But if we can
mm,
take that big deep breath in and kind of check in ourselves, all right, what do we need? It's such a simple sentence, but it's
mm,
very hard to match up to what the answer is going to be, because we don't know have enough practice of doing it. And it seems too simple as a question, but a lot of
mm,
us, through no fault of our own, we don't know how to meet our own needs because we're doing everything for everyone else first. We're
mm,
operating on 1% battery, cognitively and emotionally and physically. So we're giving ourselves to all our kids, we're giving ourselves to all our family, and then we haven't got a whole lot of air for ourselves. And then there's this revenge time procrastination, staying up late. We want half an hour to ourselves to watch, I don't know, maths or some shite. Um, and that's where we have the food, that's where we secret eat, that's where we binge eat. But that's giving us feedback that our body isn't feeling safe right now. Our body's telling us something isn't in sync right now, and we may need to find a different or another coping mechanism to
mm,
replace it, rather than not cut off the chocolate or cut off the crisps or cut off something, because taking that out completely is just going to cause issues further down the line. It's maybe going from maybe trying to eat these without the TV on, so you actually get to taste the food. Maybe it's doing a full body scan and checking in, right, what do I need right now? And right, all right, I might just need to go to bed here, or else I might be not doom scrolling on our phone and trying to replace that with, all right, I'm going to go and maybe do turn on some meditation, or I'm going to read a book, or I might even, you know what, I'm going to text a mate saying I'm going to meet up for a coffee tomorrow, just to have a bit of a natter and have a bit of a catch up, because that could be what you need. And
mm,
sometimes it's taking yourself to self care comes in. Like, everyone thinks self care is like going shopping, buying something, or going to a spa. Sometimes that self care piece is just taking yourself away from the madness of the house for a couple of minutes by locking yourself in the bathroom and just kind of like, shit, just let me just breathe. And that could be that kind of self care piece. And I think
yeah.
the food side of things, the body image side of things, the mental health side of things, they're all linked. But a lot of us think a deficit, or a high protein recipe book, or ingredient fearmongering, that's going to sort our problems out. They're really low hanging fruits, and people are playing on people's emotions that these are going to solve their issues.
Mm,
The real unsexy work is the body image stuff, the emotion dysregulation piece, those kind of things. They're the bits that are going to stand to you, and it may not be as sexy, but Jesus Christ, when you get it, you're like, I've wasted so much time here, spending my life on this, and you realize that hopefully you get to that point where, like, I know I can live the life that I want to, and everyone else wins around you. That's the bonus of it,
mm.
that everyone
Yeah,
else wins.
can that be the sexy piece that like you're living a life where you're eating? naturally. There's no force, there's no hidden agenda. You're stopping when you're full. You're enjoying some chocolate because you really enjoy it. Like you're taking that break when you need it. You're doing things that you enjoy. You're calmer, you're more regulated, you're easier to be around. You're actually enjoying life, and food is part of it, and your body's not holding you back from doing things like going to the pool or going to a sauna or going for a walk. You know, like that can be so sexy, but I totally agree with you that it's like it's not spoken about enough because we're seeing so much of the other flashy stuff, the high protein book, as you say, the transformation pics, we're seeing all that. But yeah, it really is a lot deeper than that. Yeah.
So to finish up, I know you mentioned there you have a free series in relation to the body image work. Where can people get access to that and download that? And where can people find out about you and work with you?
Yeah, so I can share the link with you, but if you go on to my website or my Instagram, the link for that is there as well. So it's called the Food and Body Swing. I can give my Instagram is at aob.coaching and my website is aobcoaching.ie. So I can send you the links for those and people can get free access. So basically, I think there's 6 videos in the series. You just put in your name and your email, and then you'll get access every second day, I think it is, you'll get a new video. And it focuses on what the Food and Body Swing is, I suppose, how it formed and why it formed, why you still feel stuck with it even when you know. And I think this kills a lot of people because you can be the most self-aware, driven person and you understand your patterns and you're like, why am I still stuck here? And it's going back to that mind and body connection work, that we can understand something, but it doesn't mean it's automatically going to change. So we
Mm.
have to kind of do the body-based work, because it's almost like learning to swim. You can do all the reading, you can learn about the techniques, you can learn about what you need to do, you can intellectualize it, you can understand it, but then you actually get into the pool and you panic. You're not actually practicing it. So it's like this, a lot of this work is about the practicing. So it's about understanding it, yes, but then actually doing the practice. So it'll kind of guide you through that. So you an understanding that why you keep going back to those patterns, even though you know better and don't want to do it anymore. And it'll talk you through how to kind of come to that middle ground, that steady part of where the swing starts to settle, basically, and how to get there and what to do if you wobble and fall off, because it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be that linear line where everything is going right. So it talks you through all that. There's 6 videos in total. So it's a really good place to start if people want that little bit of support and stuff that you can do yourself and you can come back to it again and again. And there's also some of those body connection practices as part of it, like the meditation. I suppose it's a massive part of the work I do. We're disconnected from our bodies. Our mind and bodies are so disconnected. So we want to just start working with the body rather than against it, and kind of helping us check in with that so we can relate to our bodies in a better way. So it'll guide you through one of those practices as well, which is really nice. So yeah, that's
Brilliant. So the loads there for people to kind of take in. So if I cannot thank you enough, I'll put in the link into the show notes where people can kind of get that and do a little bit of an intro into it as well, so people can find out about the course as well. So thank you so much for coming on today.
no bother. It was lovely chatting to you. I love hearing about what you're doing as well, like the great work that you're doing. So yeah, thanks for having me on. It was lovely.
Thank you.